Good afternoon, the students of the support of children at risk. My name is Meahabo Daina Magano, a professor in psychology of education. That's the department where I'm based in floor 6 in Kwana Simon Radipere building. My telephone number, it is as reflected on the screen, and that's my email address. My other portfolio is that I'm a manager for teaching, learning, community engagement, and student support in the College of Education. I'm responsible for all the teaching within the College of Education. Now, the name of the module is the support of children at risk. Its module code is SCSCRA1. It is a short course, or we refer to it as a short learning program. Its duration is 1 year. The credits are 12. The purpose of the short course, SCSCRA1, or the support of children at risk, is to address the social ills within society regarding children at risk. The target group for this short course is parents, guardians, grandparents, teachers, social workers, caregivers, volunteers in communities, and warders. Any person with a minimum qualification of NQF level 4 or grade 12, standard 10 for those who passed in the 1980s, metric may register for this course. Why this course? Central to this short learning program is the Education for All goals. We normally refer to that as the IFA goals, those that refer to us taking care of all the children, no one left behind. Such children may be orphans, children from child-headed homes, offenders, drug addicts, children with deviant behavior, children from broken homes or dysfunctional families, school dropouts, children experiencing learning barriers, and street kids. Refugees are also included here. Children at risk also need care and support to enable them to be independent and acquire meaningful education. The books that you may use, not necessarily buy, but use, it's the book that I wrote with Professor Ramnarain, including the excluded, Educating the Vulnerable in the 21st Century. This book has different types of children that are referred to as children at risk. Another book that I wrote with the other colleagues within the College of Education, University of Johannesburg, University of Stellenbosch, is the pedagogy employed for correctional education, an Ubuntu and wellness perspective, and the pedagogy of intervening using inclusivity in a special school for learners with intellectual disabilities, a wellness perspective from theory to practice in embracing African values of Ubuntu. This book was published in 2020. Another book that one can look at is Life Orientation for South African Teachers. The other book can be Donald D. Lazarus, authored by Donald D. Lazarus Mula. It's Educational Psychology in Social Context, Ecosystemic Applications in Southern Africa. The book is also good for one to consider reading, especially when you do this course. The other book, which I co-authored with Professor Magube within UNISA, is Disability in Context, a Socio-Cultural Educational Perspective in South Africa. There are also articles that one can look at. They are outlined in Tutorial Letter 101. The course outline is as follows. We have 5 learning units. The first one deals with aspects related to children at risk. Learning Unit 2, theories underpinning the intervention and support of children at risk. Learning Unit 3, ethical conduct in dealing with children at risk. Learning Unit 4, the practical intervention and support for children at risk. Learning Unit 5, how children at risk may be supported in practice. Assessment. Already, you will notice that you have submitted assignment 1, and that assignment has been marked and returned to you. This was due on the 10th of May 2022. Then the second assignment is a portfolio, which is so massive, which needs extensive research, hard work, and that will be submitted on the 20th of September 2022. Assignments are submitted online only via my UNISA platform, and no emailed assignment will be accepted. It is easy when you submit via my UNISA because you are able to track and we also get it. And in case something happens, we are able to get all assignments because they will be captured on the system. Do not plagiarize, copy from internet or copy other people's work. This is prohibited. You are not allowed to copy things as they are, but to paraphrase. Regarding feedback for assignment 1, I'm going to handle this question by question, not necessarily giving answers because you are expected to do 90% of the work, searching sources, getting answers, going to your study guide, going to the articles, going also to the recommended books and search for answers. That is also part of learning, but we do not expect that at the university, the academic or the lecturer should give you spoon feed the answers. It will not create any learning experience. So all the students that are registered for this module, you did very well in question 1. All of you managed to get 10 out of 10. So that really showed that you were able to search for the relevant meanings of all the concepts that are here. Well done, and I congratulate you for your hard work. Question 2, describe how South Africans were hit by the COVID-19 pandemic and how the government intervened to support the nation. I found that there were imbalances in responding to this question. The question was allocated 10 marks. Most of the students focused more on describing the hit by COVID-19. They gave more narratives, more stories of what happened by the pandemic and what challenges were there. They forgot to give the intervention that the government accorded the population in South Africa. So this also shows how one can be carried away by reading the question halfway, because the impression that I got was students read up to here. Describe how South Africans were hit by the COVID-19 pandemic, and that's where they stopped. Instead of reading further and how the government intervened to support the nation. So this was a dual question, 5 marks for the challenges and 5 marks for the intervention by the government. I hope for now, you will also go back to your sources, go back to the articles online, go to Google Scholar. You can also check Google and read all the government intervention programs that were afforded to the people in South Africa. Remember, the question is focused only on South Africa, not necessarily global intervention. So those who did not get 10 out of 10 in this question, it means somewhere you fell short, and go back. Then if you are experiencing any challenge, post something on the discussion forum, or you can write me an email. Question 3, apply the theory of Bronfenbrenner, Headless Wellness Theory, and Ubuntu principles in your everyday life, and explain how the theories help you to understand and support children at risk. Now, this one was a high order thinking question. It was not like question one. Question one, we were just expecting you to regurgitate what you read in articles, what you got from the dictionary, just to explain what an orphan is, what a juvenile is. But in question three, we are taking the standard higher. We are moving to a high level of thinking. In Bloom's taxonomy, we say this is an application question. It's a high order thinking question. Now, you were supposed to look at the three theories. Read what Bronfenbrenner's theory is. And if you check on Moodle in lesson unit 2, that's where I explained the three theories. I also gave the diagrams. If you go to Moodle and then go to lessons, go to lesson unit 2 and look at the three models. Bronfenbrenner's theory, and you can also read it in all the sources that were given in tutorial letter 101 and the articles. Or you can also go to Google Scholar, check what is Bronfenbrenner's theory. How many systems layers do we have? How is each layer responsible? The microsystem, what happens in the microsystem? What is the family responsibility? How am I involved in supporting a child at risk at a family level, lower level, micro level? Then we go to the meso level. You look and study, what does Bronfenbrenner say about the meso level? What happens in the neighborhood, especially for children at risk? What is my role? How can I support the children that are in my neighborhood who are at risk? Then we go to the third level, that is the chronosystem. The chronosystem deals with the time. How does time dictate to the children who are at risk? What is happening in society? Then what is your role? How do you apply in your everyday life how you support those children at risk? Then we go to another level, that is the macro system. Those are the levels that dictate to us the belief system, the value system, and how the society is trickling down those value system to these children who are at risk. And what is your role? How is the moral fiber in your community? And what is your role as a student? Because here we want you to apply the theory in the books and you apply to an everyday life. Education make us to be lifelong learners. We cannot just read things that are not relevant. So this module is giving you a challenge to apply what you learn in your everyday life. Then the next theory is Hetler's wellness model, which has 6 wellness dimensions. I found that most of you did not do well in this question because you did not go deeper into the theories. You did not explain the 6 levels that are found in Hetler's wellness theory. We have the intellectual wellness. Nothing was said. We have the emotional wellness, the social wellness, the spiritual wellness, the a physical wellness and a career wellness. So in all 6 dimensions, what is your role as a student in your everyday life to support the children at risk? These children at risk may be in your community, maybe in your church, maybe some of your relatives. What are you doing to support them? Then the third theory, it is the theory of Ubuntu. Now you look at the theory of Ubuntu. What do we get in this theory of Ubuntu? We know that there is an adage which is saying it takes the whole village to raise a child. And what are the morals within your community that will make you to apply to support the children at risk. Remember those boys at the corner of your street who take nyaupe or who sniff glue daily? What is your role in that community? Remember a young person who's using a wheelchair, and this person is always at the corner of your street. You pass him driving, you are not doing anything. Where is the Ubuntu principle? So think deeply about this. I do not know if you have a question, you will write it down for those who have logged in. And at the end, we are going to discuss where you found that you were challenged by this question, because it carried 20 marks. But how many got 15 out of 20 in this question? Question 4. Critically analyze the way in which human rights are applied to children at risk. Now here, I was challenging you again to think, not just to say them, but to think about a way in which human rights are applied to children at risk. Now think of the constitution of our country, and also those who come from other countries. How are human rights applied to children at risk? You can think of two types of children at risk and write just an essay or with 20 marks on how will these human rights be applied. So this was more of a generic question, but also pitched at a higher cognitive level of thinking according to Bloom's taxonomy. Question 5. Describe how any person working with children at risk may practice ethical conduct. Here, let me commend you and praise you, because most of you managed to describe the ethical conduct, the behavior of the worker, any worker who is working with children at risk. And I just want to say, well done, even though some did not get 10 out of 10, but at least you managed to get something above 5. Thank you so much. Question 6. List acts that protect children against abuse. This is a low order thinking question on Bloom's taxonomy. We take it at cognitive level number 1. Remembering and understanding and listing. So here you don't have to think, you just list the acts that you know of which are protecting children against abuse. And all of you, I think you got 10 out of 10. Well done. Question 7. It was a bit tricky also, with 20 marks. It was saying, evaluate how various departments such as social development, Department of Basic Education, Department of Home Affairs, Department of Health support children at risk. Is the support sufficient? Now, what you were supposed to do in your evaluation was to look at the following. The sufficient support, you say yeah or nay, and then is it sustainable and accessible? Focus on the following types of children: drug addicts, juvenile offenders, children from child-headed household, children experiencing learning barriers, refugees, and abused children. For instance, if we say, is the support sufficient? Let's take, for instance, children from child-headed household. I understand these children get school uniform, but now it will not stop at matric. It must be sustainable. Do they get other types of clothes, or is it school uniform only? And then food, I don't know how they are supported. Maybe I should have found that in your assignments. If you went out just to check whether they get something from social development. Then at school, Department of Basic Education, how are they supported? Who acts as an adult in the lives of these children? Who acts as a mentor, a guardian to take care? Then from social development, do they get visits, these children? Something like that. I'm just trying to give an example that the three things, phenomena that you are supposed to extrapolate were support that is sufficient, support that is sustainable, and also that is accessible. Are these kids aware that they can get grants until they pass matric? And beyond that, well, after 18, they are no longer children, but NEFSAs, etc. But we are supposed to focus on children. And our definition of children, of juvenile, you know that it has age limitations. Can I ask for questions before I proceed to assignment number 2 and how we should tackle it?
Question 3, ne?
Yes.
About the theory. I didn't understand. Now for myself, I bought the book and then I read on the book, but it was confusing when I read on the book about the theory of Brongerveer.
Bronfenbrenner.
Yeah. Yes, I was so confused about it. I didn't understand what did you want with the theory. That's why I just wrote just 2 lines about that theory. But about the wellness, I understood about the wellness. I just mentioned the 6 wellness, but I didn't know whether you wanted the wellness to be discussed or not. So can you go back with the theory and explain about that theory again?
Okay, it's not a problem. It's question 3. Okay. Fine. On question 3, it says apply. And when we apply, the most important thing in applying is to show the practical. Take the knowledge from the book and make it practical in everyday life. That is why it says here, the 3 theories, you apply them in your everyday life. Supposing, Teboho, you have your brother's child who is maybe sniffing glue. I'm just making an example.
Yes.
And here you are an educated aunt who must help this child. Now, when you take Bronfenbrenner's theory, what you are going to do in the microsystem means the family setup. Now you are going to confront the family setup of your brother. Is this a conducive environment for the child to grow up? Are the parents both available to give love and support? Is the child having any emotional challenges and he's seeking company outside from the friends, and the friends gave him peer pressure and he found himself sniffing glue? You understand? Then you go to the next level. The next level, can you give me the name of the next level on Bronfenbrenner's theory?
Hitler.
The Bronfen, it has a number of levels. It's micro, it's meso, it's microsystem, that's the family. And then the mesosystem, that's the neighborhood, the school, the church, the peers.
And then the exo, even the exo.
The exo are the indirect factors. And then the chrono is the time an era in which the child is growing up. And then the macro system, that is the belief system, the values, the morals, it is very high, at a high level. So you look at all those levels and see, you as an aunt, how will you support this nephew of yours? Looking at each level, let's go to the neighborhood. How will you address this child and say, my nephew, please take care of 1, 2, 3. We are just using it as an example. We don't say it's like that. Yes.
And it's like that. I have a nephew who's doing that also.
Yeah.
So,
So this course is saying, let's not focus only on theory, but let us also try to practicalize what we learn. So in the family system, if the parents are shouting at this child, at the microsystem, you say, hey, my brother, I think what you need to do here is to slow down. Talk to the child, don't scream at the child. Meso, you talk to your nephew, you say, check the friends that you go with. Maybe let's try to go to a recreation place. What sport are you interested in? Maybe let's go to Virgin Active. Every Saturday, me and you go there, you enroll the child at the club so that he learns some a skill or whatever, or sport or anything, just to take him away from the peers. That's a meso level. Then the exo level are the indirect factors. The indirect factors may be the unemployment of the father and the mother causing stress on the child. It's an indirect factor. That's the exo system. And then the chrono system is the time. We are in an era where everything is just accessible. The drugs are easily accessible. The media is showing so many things that are horrific. That's the chrono system. And then maybe there you can talk to the child and say, you are what you eat. Try to avoid this horrific movies or anything that may be destructive to your life. Then the macro, the values. What is it that can shape the values of a child? Can the spirituality help? Can karate help? Meditation, yoga help? You know, something, the belief system, the philosophy that can help. The books that you can maybe buy just to bring some conscience. For instance, if I want somebody to have a black consciousness spirit, I can buy material of Patrice Lumumba. I can buy material of Steve Biko. I can expose the child to the books of Mandela. And then in that way, I'm bringing the value system. I'm inculcating a belief system that will build him towards a certain direction. Yeah. Tell me something. Is it understandable now?
yes, yes, I do understand now.
No, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Deboho. So for question 1, you are okay. It was only this one that caused confusion.
Yes.
Okay, no, thank you. Let me move to the question 2 assignment. Okay. Now for assignment 2, it is a portfolio. So it means here you are going to write more than what you wrote in the first assignment. So all the students need to prepare themselves thoroughly. It says this will be submitted as a portfolio. The portfolio must be submitted as an assignment using online submission only. Submission date is 15 September. No late submissions will be allowed. Question 1. We have there an extraction. When the street is your home, how do you keep safe from the pandemic? Well, for now, I think we are over that period of a pandemic, but I just asked this question because I did not know how will the situation be like now. Carefully study the image above that was adapted from Consortium for Street Children and answer the following questions. Now we are focusing on the street children. Discuss how street children were affected by COVID-19 in your community. So again, it is taking us to a level where we need to look closely at what is happening around us. Then, after looking at that, interview people in your community who are unemployed and have children in families and ask how COVID-19 affected them and how they managed to cope with the help of the government. It still relates to what we got in the first assignment. But now here, what you're going to do is to interview the people. We didn't specify the number, but they just any number that you can get. Question 2, choose 2 types of children at risk and compile a portfolio of evidence in which you indicate how you have practically intervened in their lives. Now, this one, it is taking you now to the practical level. The portfolio file must contain the following: a letter requesting permission to work with the child. I'm going to send you or post it also on the Moodle platform, and I will also email to all the students. An assessment, assent form. Assent form is a permission letter that the child must sign, and a consent form signed by an adult, because children who are under 18, we cannot research on them without the consent of an adult. There must be an adult who gives permission. Then look at the marks. So this letter, it means it must be written the way a letter is being written, with the both addresses, your address and the address of the person that you're going to interview, the contents of what do you want to do, and your name at the end. Assent form, it is just a few lines where the child is giving you permission to talk to him or her. And a consent, the parent or the guardian or an adult will be giving permission to talk to the child. Then 10 marks, a brief history of the child. Now here, you will be explaining where the child comes from, what happened to the life of this child that he ends up being a child who's experiencing problems, or the risk factors are just surrounding him or her. Causes that led to the condition of the child, 10 marks. So also look at the marks and how many factors can be given there. A description of the magnitude of the problem. Now here you outline, if it's a learning barrier where a child cannot spell or write, you also need to look into the books. You can take a photo and paste, but no name of the child. It must always be anonymous. We mustn't see the name of the child, and this will be due to permission. A description of how you apply the theory to understand the child. Now, 10 marks. You will choose which theory will you go with. Are you going to choose wellness with 6 dimensions to understand this child and to help the child? Or are you going to use Bronfenbrenner's theory, which has those levels of family, society, but don't write family, society. Remember, here you have learned new concept. In Bronfenbrenner's theory, you are going to say in the microsystem, that's the family. In the mesosystem, that's the neighborhood, the peers. In the exosystem, dealing with indirect factors, the chrono system, the time, the macro system. That's when you talk about the belief system of a society and the values. The next question, steps taken to intervene and support the child. So 5 marks. So what steps did you do or take to support this child? 5 marks. Changes observed in the child. You will mention exactly what you see and what you observe. Some of the things the child may not say them, but you will be able to see how are the changes taking place. Is he now clean? Is he now eating properly? If it's learning barriers, you support the child, reading with the child daily, helping the child to spell, playing games, maybe through music, because some children cannot spell because they do not associate this thing with something that they love. At a special school where I'm supporting, the children are taught to count using a number of things, either a computer or even music to dance. For instance, when they do gumboots dance, most of the children who are having intellectual disabilities, they do not miss the numbers. They do not miss to count. When they are seeing a dancing, wearing the gumboots and dancing, Sia Epitori, they know that they are going to count 4 times. And then from there, they do the double tapping with their hands on the boots. So they have never, I have videos of those children during their functions when it's cultural day. They do not miss to count. Why? The counting is infused in the games, is infused in the music, and they're using also other objects to teach them that their brain must associate. Even the reading, they know how to read the UNISA logo when we go with the cars there. Why? Because we say we are from UNISA. Then they go to the car, they see all those capital letters that are on the side door of the car from UNISA. Then they know that is what we call sight reading. So they hear the name UNISA, they see it on the car, and next time they know how to write it and how to spell it. Now, network structures consulted in supporting the child. So who else did you consult in supporting the child? Is it Department of Social Development or Department of Health or a school, even if it's not a department, or a social worker in the vicinity, a nurse in the vicinity to come and talk to the child and give some health talk to say, when you sniff glue, after a while, this is what will happen to your lungs. If you smoke cigarette or marijuana, this is what will happen to you over time. So any network structure, a conclusion of whether the intervention was successful or not. So you start from now to go and identify a child and then do study what the problem is and try to intervene. And then from there you write the conclusion. We will need some drawings, some photos and writing. Somewhere a child can write a letter that I am a drug addict because of my life challenges. That is also acceptable, but no name. Each step of the intervention should be supported by photos. The face of the child should not be shown. The child's writings or drawings may be attached as evidence. So that's the end of assignment 2. The letter to participants is written as follows. I'm going to email it to you and also put it on the Moodle site. It's from me because I'm giving you permission to go and conduct this mini research. To whom it may concern, this is to acknowledge that the student is a registered student for the short course, the support of children at risk. The student has permission to visit your center and must abide by the rules of your center and Children's Act as he or she conducts interviews. All ethical guidelines must be adhered to, and kindly share the do's and don'ts of your institution before the candidate is permitted to interview the child. Kind regards, Prof. MD Magano, course coordinator. If they don't believe you, that's my email address and my um, my landline. So that brings us to the end of our session, and I do not know if you have questions. Thank you for being part of this lesson. For those who were not part of this lesson in class, they will be able to listen to the recording, which will be posted on the Moodle site, and also those of you who are able to access it because they joined, it will be easy for them to get the recording. Thank you, and may I wish all of you best wishes in your module.